Zowie has long been called the king of shapes, but the U2's main selling point is really just its shape and shape alone. This was one of Zowie's most anticipated releases in recent memory, but still lagged behind others in terms of tech. The 3395 implementation of the Zowie feels okay, but I still much prefer the way Vaxi's 3395 implementation feels, and I definitely prefer the way Razer's implementations feel in terms of sensor. I do feel that those implementations feel quite a bit sharper, but I don't really have any measurements to go off of, so I would still take that with a grain of salt. People were saying that, oh, the wireless implementation on the YouTube feels excellent, but I really don't feel that it is much better than any other implementation. The 1000 hertz polling rate isn't a big deal, but what is the lowest 4 millisecond debounce time on the triggers. That's the lowest it will go, and the default is 8 milliseconds. That's something that I feel like I noticed, but still that could be all in my head. After all, we are talking about milliseconds here. The skates on the Zowie are the usual affair. Black skates, these are fine, I feel like, for attack FPS, but anything more fast-paced, I would consider switching them out. What is new here is that they are a lot bigger than previous Zowie models, which is nice in my opinion. The driverless operation of the mouse is also nice. I don't have to worry about installing any drivers or anything, which I do appreciate. The clicks were a pain point of the mouse for me. I really didn't like the blue shell pink dot implementation at all. I feel like they feel quite inconsistent throughout the click area and really only feel really good on right under the click and the sweet spot. The right click in my unit was weirdly mushy and does not feel like the left click at all. I think the single piece top shell design is definitely lacking, and they should definitely move towards a split shell design just like every other manufacturer has in recent memory. I think the scroll is quieter than previous models, but it is still that ratchety sort of loud scroll that Zowie mice are known for. The coating of the mouse was the usual Zowie coating. It performs very well in game, but does pick up a lot of fingerprints. Personally, I do like the coating. So what you are really paying for in all this is definitely the shape. Zowie has boasted about using sports science in developing this new shape. The shape apparently gives you improved muscle balance towards the left and right sides of your hand, and gives you increased vertical mobility. To be honest, it's really hard to say whether this shape was actually better in terms of performance. It wasn't an uncomfortable shape, but I don't really feel like I played a lot better. One thing I definitely appreciated was the deep thumb groove, and this was by far my favorite part of the mouse. There's an inkling of an ergo mouse feel here, and I felt really comfortable with this deep groove. But aside from that, I don't think the shape is really anything that special. There's comfort grooves on the clicks, although they were quite shallow and didn't do much for me. The right-hand side of the mouse doesn't feel special at all, and for me personally, the back hump didn't sit quite right, because the U2 is sort of a mouse leaning towards the shorter end of things, and combined with the wider hump, it wasn't really my cup of tea. It just didn't really sit right inside of my palm. But for context, I do feel the same way about the S2's back hump for reference. So out of all of Zowie's lineup, I do agree that the S2 feels the most similar. And I think that for an S2 user, this definitely would be a good upgrade in terms of shape, as I feel that the narrower body of the mouse is definitely an improvement over the S2. Now, where I live, this particular mouse, the Zowie U2, does cost the same as a DefAdder V3 Pro or even a Superlight 2, and to be honest, I would much rather have those mice instead of this one. I appreciate that Zowie have finally released a mouse that competes with it being wireless and being sort of a modern 60-gram weight, But for anyone looking to buy this mouse, in my opinion, unless the shape is really something you have to have, I think that this mouse is a pass, and pretty much any other mouse in the same price bracket would be a much better experience overall. Maybe even including the shape, depending on your preferences.